Right. Okay, I will call the meeting to order. We're going to start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the board wants to provide ample opportunity for public comment on matters that come before us. Your input is important. If you wish to address an item already on the agenda, we ask that you do so when that item comes up for discussion. If you have a comment on a matter not on the agenda, this is the time during our meeting for such comments. The board would like to remind everyone in attendance that to avoid violations of individual rights of privacy, a member of the public wishing to address the board during this time will not be allowed to make comments about any student, staff member, or member of the general public during this time. Does anyone wish to speak at this time? Mr. Schindler.
Okay, I'll just give you a little rundown on the buses. I'm sure most of you have heard that we had a couple accidents, some damage done to the buses. I did get the van hool repaired. The right-hand mirror was tore off. I got a new one and put it on. There was a big scrape down the right-hand side from when it hit one of the vehicles over at Belgrade. I just went and looked at them. I noticed that tonight there's a scrape down the side of the new bus. It's not very much damage. It just basically got all the dirt wiped off of it, but I don't know what happened. That's the first I'd seen of it, so. We do have an oil leak on the new bus. I tried to get an appointment to take it over to Belgrade to get it worked on, and they won't do that. I have to leave it over there for at least 4 days. So I'm looking at probably the 21st of this month. I will get it run over there so they can see if they can get that oil leak stopped. And cabin heater fan is not running up to speed, so hopefully they can get that fixed. So everything's still running as far as I know, so I haven't heard otherwise. And nothing's broke off anything right now. So. Any questions?
All right. I don't believe we have any correspondence.
Nope.
Okay. Discussion items, elementary building project.
Good evening. I think we'll start out with our schedule. Our schedule is looking really well. We're getting through the planning for the move. I know that the district's getting the teachers figured out. They've got their dates figured out when they're going to build the move with the kids being offsite. That seems to be going really well, coming together. So I think our move's going to be relatively streamlined. And from that perspective, also the high school lunch program, I know there's been a lot of discussion about that. I don't know if that made it up to you guys yet or not, but we're working through that to make sure that you guys can still maintain that service. And we should be able to be into the new kitchen actually right out of school. The summer feeding program. Yeah. So we'll have that section of the building we'll have the fire alarm in that section of the building. The rest of the building won't be occupiable at that point, but the teachers will be able to move their boxes and stuff in, but that's it. We won't be able to actually be in that space other than the kitchen to do this cooking program. Started on the storm sewer. I saw the heavy equipment. I don't know if you guys have been able to see that going on around site. So that's a big deal. We start getting to that stage of the project. It's starting to look like a school. Doors are installed. They're starting to paint. There's carpet going into the rooms. They just finished sanding the second floor concrete. So yeah, we're doing really well. Mobile cablings going in, fire alarm systems going in. Ceilings are starting to go in, so overall we're doing really well. Again, great contractors, great team. Everybody's working really hard, and the school district's holding up their end. So I'm really happy with where we're at, and our contingency is holding really well so far too. So I'm happy to answer any questions if you have it.
Any questions? Okay. Thank you, Shane. Yep. Committee reports. suppose that's on us.
Yeah, the activities committee met, so I'll let you highlight your takeaways from that meeting.
We had some good discussion. I guess that was Todd and I. Met with Mr. Odell. Brad participated a little bit in regards to 8th grade. I guess there was kind of 3 different topic areas: 8th grade participation in high school sports, girls wrestling option, and then the third one. Just too big.
Those were the
two big
But
ones.
it was,
Oh, we talked about the scoreboards, and they need to upgrade the shot clocks and some of those items. So I guess, the takeaway that we came from that, and the reason it's just in the discussion section, is, I guess at this point, from the committee's perspective, we're not going to push to pursue, the option of moving 8th graders. I think there's enough reasons not to leave 8th graders playing 8th grade sports for our district makes the most amount of sense. And I think Todd and I agree.
Yeah.
At the end that's where we think we should be with the number of kids we have and the programs that we have, that's the best long-term for us for now. Not that we can't change that moving forward. We can evaluate it again, in a year if we decide to. And kind of the same conclusion with trying to add, a high school girls wrestling program that currently with, the number of options that we have for boys and girls sports and the cost on one side that it would add to try, if we add one, we have to add another. And there's a kind of a chain reaction of things that happen if we do that. And looking down the road, right now, the number of participants, I think, is pretty minimal. Obviously, someday that could change, and that would probably drive looking at that.
and to that end, the few young ladies that we do have that are wrestlers that are foreseeable that they could be wanting to wrestle in high school, they are all in 6th grade. So we're a couple of years out, it looks, from that. Also, I'd like to thank Brad for his discussion on the 8th grade part. I came into it only with what I thought was kind of a general understanding of it, and he helped lead a really, I think, a kind of discussion that solidified the decision that we ultimately kind of arrived at. That was very, very helpful. That's, all that experience that you've got, that came again and, bore fruit, and it was a good discussion to have, because there are things that relative to boys versus girls and developmental aspects and things like that, and that it was very, very helpful. So thanks.
Well, thank you for letting me be a part of it.
And the last item was, the requirement to upgrade to shot clocks, that got bumped up. At first, MHSA said we had 2 years to do it. Now they've given us basically, it's got to be done by next year. We did just get numbers from Mr. Odell, and we don't have those tonight, but looking down, we're looking at probably having a special board meeting later in the month to address some other items, and that will probably show up then. But we just didn't have the numbers in time for this one. Those were the three items that the activities committee hit.
I was at the state wrestling tournament, and I was kind of blown away by the number of girls there.
Yeah, some
We
there.
had 12 mats going in the Metro, and 2 of those mats were basically girls the entire time.
Yeah.
And they started the day before the boys tournament started. And there's all over the state. I mean, I would say it's coming. I mean, it's something we need to plan for.
Yeah, from my understanding, Mr. Odell did some good research on it, and there's a lot of high school scholarships now being offered for girls wrestling. For college scholarships, and he had some good thoughts on starting a feeder program with middle school wrestling and in a couple of years, we'll have a group of girls that have been in wrestling for quite a few years now that'll be moving up and be interested. So kind of start getting prepared for that, but we don't have the numbers to have a program yet. So yeah, I think that'll be good. It's good that we're starting the conversation.
I told all my girls there were scholarships out there, but none of them took it.
You guys could wrestle too, I can see that.
You said, I'm pretty sure I've heard the term rugby being used. All right.
Well, I've got a quick question on that, where we have an even number of boys and girls sports, and I just forget, so this is just so, for my understanding. What is the title that falls underneath where you have to have the same?
Title IX.
Is it Title IX? Okay, it's Title IX, okay. That's what I'd written down, that's what I thought I'd remembered, but I wasn't sure.
And Mrs. Heveron's our Title IX coordinator at the district.
All right.
Breathing.
All right, thank you.
All right, moving on, curriculum committee. I do enough talking, I'll let you do another.
But I do enough talking too. No, we met, what was it, last week or the week before anyway, and then looked at the curriculum, K2 and then 3-5 curriculums. And Christina, thank you for putting everything together. Thanks to everybody who attended as well, the teachers who were in attendance. And Susie, Christina, Jason, if you have anything to add, please do. I thought, it was really, in my mind, I guess it was really great to be able to take a look at the curriculums, the combination of curriculums, sort of the packets, if you will, and just thinking about how to, one was fill in gaps really, and the other is to kind of move the curriculum forward and knowledge forward, throughout kind of the grades and how you start and kind of tier up. And we talked about the MTSS, the tiers as well, and the benchmarks around the tiers. And that was great information. Who sent that out? Was it Kelsey that sent that out? So now identifying the number of students that we have at certain tiers over a certain number of years. And it was just really helpful to understand where we are with that, where we're going with that. The curriculum, in my mind, being a curriculum person myself, looks great. There's a couple of questions. I think the 3-5 reading curriculum was well outlined, and I feel satisfied. I feel satisfied with that from my own personal perspective. Deirdre never did call me back.
Okay.
So I had a question for a publisher about some specific content, and so I hadn't got a call back yet. So I reached out to them directly, and so they'll call back. I think we'll touch base. So other than that, was there any other questions I could answer? Anything that you wanted to add?
No, and we're obviously, when we get to the point of approving that curriculum, we'll have a more in-depth discussion. But I think it was a great thing to participate. It was fun to sit down with the teachers and get a little bit of time to hear it from their perspective on how they've gotten from looking at multiple options down to the ones that it looks like they're going to choose. And that was a good discussion.
Absolutely, and I think in the past, historically over the last 12 years, really what's happened when curriculum has been chosen for us as board members, and let me generalize, we just kind of say yay or nay. Yeah, sounds good, or we really don't know. We really don't know what's involved and all the aspects of it, and around the measurements, the assessments, all of those pieces of curriculum and how it all plays together and how it scaffolds up from grade to grade. And so this was really helpful. This is the first, I've been on the curriculum committee for I don't know how many years, and this is the first real curriculum meeting we had. So that was very helpful, and thank you all very much.
Yeah, I would just add that we want to make sure that the public knows that the curriculum's available for review. We have it here in the board room. So if anybody wanted to reach out to review the curriculum, they could set up a time during the school day, and Christina or one of the teachers could walk them through that. And of course, it'll be available before the next board meeting. We just want to make sure that we're being very transparent and open about the curriculum that is being considered for adoption, and that the teachers worked very hard and did a ton of research into each program. And I can't thank Mrs. Hartman enough for all the scheduling and organizing she did to make sure that all the teachers got to go out and see the curriculums being taught in different schools around the state. And then all of our networking with our colleagues to set up Zooms and different things so that we could hear what other teachers had to say about the curriculums and get a chance to see it in Montana classrooms and that kind of thing. So it was a lot of work, and Ms. Hartman and her team did an awesome job of tackling it and doing their due diligence and research to pick a program. And I mean, it is a big investment for the school district, and we wanted to make sure that it was selected by the teachers. And I think this is one of the only times I've seen almost a complete consensus on the programs that were selected. So pretty incredible. And then also want to thank Strive and Debbie Hunsaker and her team for helping. That's the consultant that we worked with and came in and helped the teachers on professional development days and this summer to kind of give them a framework for things to look for when you're selecting a curriculum. So we brought in some experts to help us guide through that process, and also they were always available to answer questions. Sometimes it's hard to get a hold of the publishers, as you noticed. So
I know, I call publishers all the time. And
yeah.
It's hit and miss.
So it's been nice to have experts that we can call on and can get us those answers quickly from that perspective. So yeah, it's been a process, and it wasn't an easy one. So thank everyone for their work.
Yeah, agreed. And a couple of things, there were some common themes that came out, especially around the professional development and being able to, regarding the particular curriculum that's selected, in preparing teachers to learn how to teach it. So there were some common themes around that. The other part is, I wonder if, and this is just a question, in order, and to maintain transparency, would it be, you had just mentioned that these super kids and I think some read side by side stuff is here probably as well, in addition to some other stuff. Would that'll be available before the next board meeting? Would it be possible to just ask community members if they would like to come in and take a look before the board meeting? Maybe.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I'd like to.
Times get tight. I know.
Yeah, I'd like to encourage that. Yeah, if people have any questions, they can definitely reach out and set up times to come in, or come in, prior to the board meeting next meeting.
Okay, sounds great.
Great, thank you. Policy review, MTSBA update.
So just wanted to let you know that we did touch base with MTSBA, and I let our chair know that they are getting close to completion and ready to start going through policies and the handbooks with us to make recommendations. So at the end of this month, I will sit down with them and we can assemble a group if you guys would like to do that, see who's interested in kind of hearing their initial overview, or I can go through the initial overview with them and then figure out how we want to chunk it to bring it to the board. So they have identified which policies, we need to adopt and which changes we need to make so that our policies align with our handbook, and then they also have recommendations on things that for us to update. And of course, we'll go through policy by policy, and you guys will make those calls. So we're not just going to adopt a new package or anything like that. We're going to go through it policy by policy, and we'll start with the things that are most urgently in need of being updated or aligned. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew that that was coming and touch base on that.
Okay. COVID-19 policy updates and protocols.
So we don't have any new COVID-19 changes besides the fact that the CDC dropped school buses from the mandate of masks. So that regulation was dropped. And so we waited one day after that. That happened on a Friday. So that Monday we let all families know. And then that Tuesday, the students stopped wearing masks on the buses.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving forward, consent action items, minutes and warrants. Is there a motion?
Oh, I move to approve the minutes and warrants as presented.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes and warrants as presented. Any discussion?
I did have just one question, and I don't remember where it was. I think it related to Ed, to the cost of the bus. It looked like there were two costs of like $6,300 for the repair. Did I miss that, or did I, where's that? Because that was on the stuff that you emailed.
That would be in the
Oh.
claims,
That was in the claims.
on the late claims. So
The
they're
late
not,
claims,
they're
the
not
late
in the
claims.
book. You'd have to pull it up.
They are right next to you.
Oh,
Okay. And I'm just curious, I mean, thank you. Okay.
Now, I believe I took a $1,200 bill and split it up into $600 to come half out of the athletic portion and half out of the activity portion of
Oh,
the budget.
Okay.
Would that
okay.
maybe, and I believe that was Harlow's.
And that was for the mirror
The
replacement.
mirror replacement, yeah, that's what I thought when you mentioned that, that's what I thought, and it kind of stood out a little bit because it was two
Right.
625s.
I just wanted to-
Let's do 650s or something. Okay. And I probably, as long as that sounds reasonable, that sounds good. And I was just, more than anything, just questioning because it looked a little odd,
Mhm.
as it was broken out. I'll probably find it just as soon as we vote. That'll probably be the case. I'm good with it.
okay.
That
Any
sounds
further
reasonable.
discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Moving on to action items. I'm going to shift things here real quick, guys. I'm going to move the senior class up to the front because we got a couple lengthier items. And that poor kid gets really cranky if you didn't.
All right,
Take it away.
I'm Colton Noyes, I'm a representative for the senior class. First of all, I'd just like to thank you for allowing the senior class to come before you this evening. We are going to request a bus for the evening of Sunday, May 22nd. That's right, the night of graduation. We'd like to use the bus for our senior all-night party. Jeremy Rice is willing to drive the bus with permission of the board. Our current plan is to go to Broadwater in Helena, go swimming for a little while, and then go to Sleeping Giant Lanes, and then go bowling. And then once we're done there, we're planning to go out to the fairgrounds where we'll finish out different activities out there and breakfast, and then our parents will come pick us up somewhere between 5 and 6. So we're just requesting the board's permission to use a bus that day.
Is the bus driver okay to check out?
He is a
Yes.
bus driver.
Oh,
He's our driver.
Yeah.
No, we're just grabbing snacks. It wasn't getting my bodies to do anything this year. Yeah. Yeah, Jeremy's on board. He's good.
Yeah, he's been driving the activity bus throughout the winter. Started late fall, I think.
Hopefully we'll keep some years on it. Let's go.
Very good. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the senior class request for the bus and for their evening's plans, I guess.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the senior class online party agenda and the use of a bus and a driver for that evening. Any further discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. All right, now we'll go back to approving the high school mechanics. Mr. Richwood.
Okay, thank you. You have four handouts that help describe what we have with the high school HVAC project. This is ESSER funding, and we put in a budget for ESSER funding, and it's come through the board, and we got $693,000 approved from the ESSER. The bid tab, the sheet that looks like this, we only got one bid which was from Tri-County, who is the mechanical electrical contractor that's doing our new elementary school. And they also got the project that you awarded last month for the middle school HVAC work. And there's a lot of work around the state. I'd always like to see more bids. We invited people, we advertised, communicated it, but nobody else gave us a bid. But the good news is we got very good pricing. And it's complicated because we got 6 alternates here in a base bid, but I really wanted you guys to be able to have some flexibility within your budget to fund the components that you wanted. And I think if we just go to the page that has a total of $910,000 on the bottom, which is more than the funding we have available, but it shows all of the work that we bid, and I'll just go through this briefly. The base bid includes the work in the central boiler plant for a new hot water system that would serve not only the old 63 edition of the high school, but also the newer 1980 edition. It serves that entire area. And there's also 2 hot water circulating pumps that would be connected to the boiler that we did the emergency replacement of last year. And those pumps are at the end of their useful life. And then it also includes some significant improvements to the welding and woodworking shop, primarily on the welding side, to put an upgraded exhaust system in there so that we'll have flexible hoses that will go to each welding station. And your welding program is a huge success. You have a lot of students want to take welding, and this will offer some additional capacity, as well as some 220 outlets for the electric welders so that the cords will come down from the ceiling and not create trip hazards. So that's in the base bid, and we need to take the base bid to start with, and then you can choose from any of these alternates that are there. And the alternates aren't in any particular order, but the alternate one is the air handler unit that serves the new gym. And this is the one that Kevin had brought up several meetings ago. And it's the only piece of equipment that's in the new school. And it's kind of a one-of-a-kind piece of equipment because it actually uses a heat wheel as a heat exchanger, which is not the most efficient heat exchanger technology, and it creates a lot of daily stops for gym just to keep that unit operational. And that's $183,760. Alternate 2 is for the original gym called the East Gym here, where there's 2 old air handlers there that, and this is not replacement of those air handlers, but this will be a tune-up of those air handlers. So it'll change the actuators and the dampers, the pieces that move on there. And I think the huge noticeable improvement you'll notice with this is it'll bring in outside air during events. So by the time the varsity get there, it won't be hot and stuffy feeling. It'll an environment like this. And it uses the outside air when it's cool. So it's not going to use a bunch of propane. It's just done with controls. And all of these prices include new controls. And that's only $24,611. Alternate 3 is to replace 2 cabinet heaters in the corridors, and the cabinet heaters are located by the exterior doors just to take the chill off when students and staff are going in and out. provide some heat so that all that cold air just doesn't blow down the hall. Alternate number 4 is $180,706. And this is for the boys and girls locker room. And these air handlers are still operational. And this also includes a code upgrade, because the current code requires that you have heat recovery when you have the showers and you're generating a lot of heat in there. And the heat recovery really makes sense if you have a health center where you have extended hours and a whole bunch of people shower all day, every day. Here, where it's not used a lot, the utility savings would be minimal. But it's required by code, and that's one of the reasons that's a pretty expensive price. If we were gonna take that alternate, I wanna put a caveat by there, because this design is utilizing the existing ductwork, which once the contractor gets in there, there's a really good chance that it's undersized, and then we'd be looking at a $40,000-ish change order to appropriately size that. But that was one of those unforeseen conditions that we know that would be there if we choose to do that.
That's the old gym too, right? The old 63 gym, is that what we're talking about?
Pardon me?
Is this gym the old 63 gym?
Yep,
Okay, okay,
Yep, the locker rooms in the old gym, yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So alternate 5 is to replace the air handler that currently serves 6 classrooms along that exterior wall to the track area. And I had originally priced this as replacing that air handler, but when we did the walkthrough with the design team, the 1963 design of that air handler doesn't meet current life safety codes. And the reason it doesn't meet life safety code is it brings the return air from the classrooms through the hallway. So if you were to, in the event that there would be a fire in one of those classrooms, that smoke in that one classroom would immediately be in the corridor, which is the means of egress to get the students safely out of the building. So current life safety code does not allow that. So in order to save a lot of money, we went with a design that has 5-unit ventilators in the classrooms that have exterior walls. And in the home ec room that's completely enclosed, we put a rooftop unit on top of the roof and bring fresh ventilation air in there. And this would be considerable indoor air quality upgrade, because we'd be bringing in the 15 cubic feet of air per minute that's required for students. And classrooms are highly densely occupied areas. So for the $144,000 and $144,365, you're actually providing new heating ventilation to 6 classrooms with students in them all day. Then alternate 5, the last one, we broke this out, but this would serve the metal shop, and it would provide a vehicle exhaust system. It's not something that's done every day, but when a vehicle is moved into that shop area and you open up that door, that's the prevailing winds. So it blows. Of course, the vehicles that are going in there generally have exhaust problems. That's where they're going in to get tuned up. And it blows into the welding area and then into the hallway and into the academic wing, which is less than ideal. So there's an alternate for that. But if you go through the numbers, we have a subtotal of $791,498. We need to have a project contingency because we will have change orders when you're going into an existing space like this. So 5% is minimal, but given that we've taken a good hard look at it, we'd be comfortable with that $39,000 there. We have a placeholder for some light commissioning. This isn't a full commissioning like we're doing on the new elementary school, but it just allows for, if there's situations where we need to make sure that things are gonna work correctly, you guys already have a contract with Elkhorn Commissioning to fill that role. Then there's the design fees, and then the construction management fees for the whole thing. So the total for everything is $910,797.84. And as I said when I started, you can take the base bid and then any combination of these alternates. But instead of printing out every combination of alternates, which I put, which would make it one of those really long presentations Jason was talking about, I certainly open for discussion. And then there's a sheet here that shows the combination for $699,027.12, which is close to a little bit over the amount that you have approved, but it gets us the base bid, alternate number 1, which is the new gym air handler, alternate 2, which is the old gym and would provide better comfort for spectators, alternate 3 for the corridor cabinets, and alternate 5 to take care of those 6 classrooms. So questions, comments?
I guess I'll go ahead and start. Looking at the numbers, working through this once the bids came in and sitting down with Susie, what we went through some of the early projections to put that budget together for her to submit to ESSER. So that, the current amount we have penciled in is $673,480. And, looking at, the 910, as much as I would love to be able to do all of those things right now, we don't have the money to do it, or we don't have the money to do it without reaching into every available fund to make up that difference. And I guess I'm not comfortable moving that forward or doing that. So, looking through in the discussions that Rich and I have had, and Shane, and with also walking around with Jim and thinking about the things that do the most amount of good for the most amount of students and the most amount of people in the building, that's why we put together the alternate here that takes off number 4 and number 6, and gets us really close. We're about $25,000 over what she currently has approved through ESSER. I think that is a difference that I think we can find comfortably to fund, but based on what everybody else thinks, we can pick and choose and move some more things around if somebody else has other ideas. But I think those are the items that are on the list that I think priority where we should spend the money that we currently have budgeted to do that. So that's why those numbers are presented the way they are. But definitely open for other ideas and comments or questions if you want Rich to explain anything else further.
You were talking about a 50% variance or something in those ESSER funds?
Yeah,
How did that come out?
I did reach out to the state because, like we said, we came in a little bit over what we submitted. So anything over $5,000 is a capital purchase. So I have to submit more documentation to the state on. So our capital purchases were approved that include all of these different components, just certain alternates and things came in a bit higher. So we do have 50% variance, which is huge. I called to see if I couldn't remember if it was 10 or 20%. It used to be on most of the state grants, but on ESSER it's 50%. So we do have wiggle room to go above. But then, as Jason said, that means, we're taking it out of one of those other categories and in ESSER 3, which we don't want to take too much money from those other pots that are really important, like professional development and curriculum and those kinds of things. Some of the areas we can pull from, for example, are on supplies. We have received other grant awards from DPHHS and others that are providing those COVID cleaning supplies and things. So I can transfer that so we can pull some more funding from those categories so we have 50%. If you look on your ESSER budget page, the high school mechanics is in ESSER 3. It's pretty confusing, but it's towards the back, and it's this one that has the long explanation of all the units and heaters and things. And within that object code, we have the 50% variance. So we definitely have the wiggle room, and then that's where you can see the amount of the 673,480. So we can definitely make it happen. But I agree that it would be hard to come up with $200,000 more, but I think 20 or 30 would be reasonable.
So what does variance mean specifically?
So we can spend above or below the amount that I put in the budget under each code. So this is 700 property and equipment, 40 facilities. So within that category, we can go above or below by 50% of that number.
But you still only have a total amount.
But we still only
Only
have,
have the total, okay.
It's just a shell game.
I see, okay.
Yeah,
got it,
so-
okay.
I can move,
Okay.
if you see right above that, there's a supply line, for example, that says 20,000 to minimize for supplies to minimize the spread of infection. Right above that one, which we could move that 20,000 into the facilities, for example.
Yeah, I'm not looking at the right page, but I see what, yeah, I understand.
3 and 4, yeah.
Is this the one now?
Now you're there.
Now I'm there?
Yep.
Okay, all right,
Because we've come up with other funding to
yeah.
pay for supplies too.
I think in the total for.
Additional grant I wrote.
That's for 1 and 2 and 3, the totals are just the totals.
I think it's
There's
just a
nothing.
lifespan.
There's no.
Yeah. Yep, correct.
Okay.
And then that just has to be obligated by September 30th, 24, and liquidated by December of 24, which we will have done definitely by then, if we move forward, I'm hoping, so.
I do have some questions on those classroom ventilators, and I walked through it with Rich and Jim one evening. And I guess just to clarify, those unit ventilators in the classroom, where do they draw? They're drawing from the outside. Do they also draw from the inside? Is there a return air to those?
Yes, you cut a,
So they're basically balanced within that classroom. So
they're balanced within that classroom. They bring in fresh outside air, and the damper will fluctuate based on what's needed, and then brings in return air across the floor. So you have it it's recirculating air as well. It's just bringing in enough outside air to satisfy the occupant load of the students. And each classroom has its own thermostat, but the limits on that thermostat are set in the computer and controlled by the administrator. So the teacher can't just turn it up to 85 and the next classroom's down to 65. You want to have some consistency for the students.
Right, because
the class.
that was my next question, because it'll be all that new boiler will run all of those classrooms.
Yeah.
Just the air circulation from those tubes would be the new unit ventilators doing that.
Yep. Yeah. It'll use the existing hot water off of the boilers that we did in last year. Yeah. And that piping's in place.
Okay. Is there anything, now, we talked about, and I don't see it specifically here, but we talked about an additional set of doors on the shop doors. That's kind of a smoke buffer or fume buffer or something.
Yes, and we didn't include that here because this is a mechanical contractor. And
But it is still something we're looking at.
I guess what I'm kind of getting around to is if there were a way to pressurize that hallway, so we have a positive pressure on that side and negative in the shop, or if there's an exhaust fan or something drawn out of the shop, so it's not, because that old one, with, like you said, is that picking up, make up air of the hallway and drawing, keeping a negative pressure in there and drawing it into the corridor from the shop. Is there any way to?
The school, every facility is under a positive pressure. That's how it's designed, and that you do test and balance to ensure that there is a slight pressure, but it's a slight pressure, and it's not a differential that's adequate to stop the wind blowing directly in.
Oh.
But to your point, that's primarily just to prevent the dirt and leaves coming through the doors constantly. Because if you're in a building that's under negative pressure, you'll see windowsills and around the door, it'll just get filthy. If it's positive pressure, it keeps a lot of that out. And so when they're running the welding exhaust, it's going to help immensely. So if we didn't do the vehicle exhaust, I think if they did run the welding exhaust, and you'd be under huge negative pressure. Our classrooms and hallways are all under a positive pressure.
Right.
We install that second doorway, it would very much minimize it. I don't know how many vehicles they do, which is the other thing. I don't think it's a daily occurrence, but when it's done, I think there's some protocols you can put in place that would make it a lot better.
They do a lot in there, but you're right, it only happens that the school fills with exhaust, maybe a few times a year. But literally, it'll come all the way down to the office, you can smell the whole school, so, yeah, and which obviously that's not good for everybody in the school either. And I've seen, they're doing more and more vehicle work, but like you said, if there's another protocol where they can utilize that exhaust, that welding exhaust system to help minimize that probably would be better.
And you always have the flexibility down the road to buy the vehicle exhaust piece, because it is a standalone unit. You know what they cost now. So
This week.
yeah. Very true. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Like I said, that's my thoughts, my recommendation, but if somebody else wants to entertain a different combination, we can.
So, but you feel comfortable in being able to reallocate 25,000 approximately?
I think so.
And that's to get us up to the 699?
Yes.
Any way to slide that exhaust system in there for the shop?
Yep, for another 15. I don't.
They seem
40,
flush right now.
40.
Yeah, how about that? Can we do 40?
Yeah, I mean, it's doable. We just have to decide, where we're going to take it from.
We're going to take some of your switches.
Yeah. Well, and if we're going to stick to ESSER, if we want to use another fund, we do have other funds
Right, we have
available
other
as well.
funds, obviously, as options.
Yep.
We do have some money in them, so we wouldn't necessarily be tied to doing it from ESSER if we felt we couldn't do it. But
But if
Everybody
you
just
guys
has-
want to approve it tonight, then we can look at funds and where we'll pull it from.
Because we can always
Yep.
pull,
Building reserve or,
yeah.
Metal mines
we got a
or flex fund. Brad, do you have one of these?
It almost feels
Did
like
you
it's
get
one of
one?
those things that.
Did you guys each get one of these? Because I have two.
While we're
Yeah.
fixing stuff like that, why not?
Okay.
If we can do it, if we
Just wanna
can,
make sure I didn't-
if we can find it.
Well, I was-
Which it will add a hair more than the 15, because of course you have to change the contingency and those other things that are
Right.
based on percentages. It's not gonna be a lot, but that 15,378 probably turns into what? 18.
Probably 17, 18.
Something like that.
Yeah, less than 17.
Do you think that's a good move to do that at this time? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it will work with the vehicles and it'll keep
Keep the school a little cleaner.
it'll keep the school cleaner, yeah. I mean, because, once that air gets in there, that exhaust smell, it takes quite a while to dissipate, so, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it'll be a drastic improvement, especially if you start getting that smell coming down. You flip those hoods on, those welding hoods, that's high volume movement. You're gonna negative that, as long as the garage doors are open.
Right.
Garage doors are open, it won't matter, you're not gonna run up there from that, but garage doors are closed. You flip those on, it's going, so.
And I'm guessing that, because we had talked about this too, that we got a long ongoing issue with that poor kitchen, classroom, area that's enclosed in the middle there, and the ventilation has not worked for a long time. And, obviously Jim tries to fix it as best he can, but, so that will solve that problem. The system that you're putting in there is also gonna solve that.
Yes, it'll have a
When they
dedicated
cook, they're not gonna
rooftop
be full of
unit.
smoke and the heat.
And
Okay,
it'll be under a positive pressure, it'll be a thermostat, so you could
Okay.
manage the temperature in that classroom, and
perfect.
it'll be
And the air exchange will help with
a
that.
huge difference in that
Awesome.
room, because that is a totally enclosed room.
Oh, and it's.
Yeah,
it's bad.
better than
I do.
better than I.
Mhm,
No,
yeah.
it'll be a huge improvement.
Okay, great.
So my rough figures means it's gonna change that to probably like a $717,000.
Well, I move to approve the base bid and alternatives 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6 for the high school HVAC project to be paid out of ESSER funds.
And other funds as needed.
As needed.
As needed.
As needed.
Sourcing.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the base bid and alternates 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. Using the ESSER funds allocated or budgeted so far and whatever's necessary.
Additional.
to make up the difference. Okay, is there any discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passes. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Thanks for all your time today.
Okay,
It's yours. Did I steal yours? I stole somebody's.
approve the internet provider contract. As everybody knows, we looked at this, found a few things that we thought needed reviewed, and just everyone sent it to MTSBA. They work directly with Montana Internet back and forth, and you now have the updated one
Hot off the press
in
today.
front of you. And if you have any more to add to that.
Nope. I just appreciate MTSBA being super responsive and getting it done in time for our meeting. And Luke's here with us in case you guys have any further questions on the agreement.
Yeah, and I emailed the redundancy piece. Did we miss that? Did we lose that, or did I simply not see it?
I don't know, I haven't seen the actual contract.
Because that doesn't, that was item C in the last draft, and it's not even included in this one. That I could see.
Yeah, I don't know if it got, item C's changed. I don't know if it got changed with lawyers or what. I know personally, it's not a huge concern for me. I know Montana Internet has been a great partner. They've been over backwards for a lot of things. They run fiber for us. It's kind of a mutually beneficial relationship. They're getting a lot out of it too. So, I don't have a huge issue with it personally.
So in your mind, if the primary goes down, they'll just help out with the secondary
Right.
backup regardless of being a
Yeah,
contract or
so
not.
there's two fiber lines in here. If they both went down, they can reverse the signal on the wireless on the roof and pull it from the water tower instead of shooting to the water.
Right, right,
Yeah, and they can do that all pretty quickly.
right. And you're confident they would even without a contract?
Yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yeah. I am.
Okay, well, if you feel good, I feel good. I'm not sure I'd rather contract like that, but
Yeah.
if you feel good, I feel good.
Did you have? No, I thought it looked good. There's a highlight in the period on the last sentence.
I saw
of the
that.
contract, but other than that,
I printed it off 20 minutes before the meeting started.
no, it was good. I saw
I
saw the correspondence from Chris, and I agree. So that was helpful. Yeah, it was appreciative. They were
About to
able
blow the
jump on
printer
this.
up right
Yeah,
before the
they've
meeting.
done
Okay, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I guess since the review was kind of born from some of my criticism, I'd like to move that we approve the contract with Montana Internet as revised.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the contract with Montana Internet as revised by legal counsel. Any further discussion?
Well, you guys go ahead and vote first, then I just have a comment.
Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes.
Okay, so I think this is a good time just to make sure we cover the switches, because it goes along with that and Luke's expertise here. So we have you guys already approved the switches under the ESSER budget. We've already done that when you approved the ESSER budget as presented previously, but it, like everything else, did come in higher than we had budgeted for. So I attached the 2 quotes for the switches, and these both need to be decided on tonight because we have to get them turned into E-rate ASAP. So Pine Cove came in quite a bit under Univision, and so we would like to go with Pine Cove, and E-rate covers 60%, we pay 40%, correct, Luke?
Yes, yeah, it's based on our frame reduced.
Yep, so we would pay 40% of the 139,518. So we'd be just over 55,000, and we budgeted for 41,000. So once again, I just have to shuffle the ESSER funds around, and we'll have to take from a few different other areas to make that happen. And that's in ESSER 2, I believe. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone acknowledges that, and so we can get those sent off and get started on our E-rate work that needs to be done.
And the APs are all in place, we're good with that?
So yeah, so it includes, the APs are included in that for the elementary.
Okay, they're in, okay,
Yeah, we did the high school this last summer, high school, junior highs.
okay. And then we're talking about and the replacement cycle makes all kinds of sense. But what do you think about, I don't know if I ever saw a reply regarding,
Right.
what are you thinking, 2, 3 years, and 3 or 4 years?
So,
or what do you
so
think?
this quote that we got now, all those have a 5-year license on them.
Okay,
So, yeah, I would say a minimum of 5 years at least, we should be able to get out of them.
okay. And that probably depends upon the change in technology regarding access points and just some
Right.
variables.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, I know what we did last time when we got ready to upgrade is we upgraded our core switches, kind of the first switch in every closet, with the upgraded ports so we could get higher speeds for our access points, and then we upgraded the secondary ones after that. So we can definitely look at a cycle, something like that. You can split it out through 3 years that way. Versus doing everything all at once, which is a big chunk.
It's just, and that's what I was thinking
Yeah.
about with the replacement, some kind of standard structured
Sure.
replacement cycle, just because I know that the downside is that you get into maybe supporting different levels of technology and it may or may not be compatible.
Yeah, that's what we have this year, is we're supporting
Yeah.
2 different vendors. Yeah. It has some issues.
But the cost around
Yeah,
it,
she just
but the cost around a full upgrade
Yeah.
for all switches or all APs. is
Yeah, and
pretty
after this
significant.
upgrade, everything will be ruckus, so we'll all be under one vendor, so
Okay.
everything will talk together pretty well.
And then the other, about 15,000.
So yeah, just wanted to make sure that, just wanted you guys to acknowledge or know that we're going with Pine Cove and it's $15,000 additional to what we had budgeted in ESER two.
Hey, just really quick, what was the breakdown of the cost of the switches to APs? I'm just curious.
I don't have it in front of me, but
Is
I
it
know
in-
one of the big yeah,
Is it in here?
yeah.
139,000. Page 10.
What would there?
Yeah, so
there's a breakdown.
Pine Cove has a few different switches. That's Univision.
Pine Cove's right behind it.
Yeah, yeah.
So Pine Cove, they have 19 switches, and it comes up, it looks like to about $68,000. And then the access points, we're getting 48 of those, and they were 25,000. So the access points are quite a bit cheaper.
Okay, I see. Okay.
And then with Pine Cove's bid, that also includes direct cables, so that all of our switches in the closet can be like one logical switch.
Okay.
They include patch panels, UPSs, should be everything we need to get going.
And then the cloud, the Ruckus Cloud's the management software?
Yes, yeah, and that's the 5-year license part, yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, yeah, again, not an action item, she just wanted to make sure everybody was aware that that did come in a little higher. She'll play some more shell game with some ESER money. Get it taken care of. Okay, moving on, approve the calendar.
Oh, good. She does have the right one. Christine's like, oh, no one's here. We fixed it. Freaking out.
Thanks, Luke.
Yeah, thanks guys for all the correspondence and stuff, I appreciate it.
I just,
No problem.
was passing on crazy, and it was also my staff coming down there. It's still going. That's right, it's right here.
All right, I'm gonna let somebody know more about this.
Mrs. Hartman did a lot of the work to get the calendar committee together and get the calendar options narrowed down to this final draft. So you take it away.
So a lot of different opinions when it comes to the calendar committee, when you have K through 12. So there was 2 options, and then this one was suggested, so it was kind of a middle of the ground, which was really nice. Everyone, I have not heard one person come back and say anything about it yet. They're all in agreement on this calendar, the way it has a split start and everything. The other thing was we're trying to get our minutes in, as well as, work around trying to get some of the early outs that everyone's looking for. And to do that, it'd be starting 5 minutes earlier and then making lunch 40 minutes across the board. And by doing so, this gives us, really the minutes you see here is what 4th and 5th grade have. Your other classes would actually have a few more minutes, just because we have to calculate their lunch and recess that they have during the day. So they actually have 40 minutes and another 15 minutes we have to deduct out of the minutes. So everyone else is actually a little higher, but we have to base it on 4th and 5th grade.
Some of the things considered were the wrestling tournament, so that we have that planned ahead this time. And knowing that that's hard for parents having a Monday and a Friday that we're out of school, but as long as we let them know well in advance, hopefully they can make arrangements for that. But we try to think of those kinds of things. So
The other thing this did was we allowed to get another PIR day in there, so we actually have some time for PD. So we'll have a January PD and a March PD, is it February? January, right? And then parent-teacher conferences would be 4 to 7 p.m. So we'd still get all of our time in for the teachers in service hours.
Any questions or a motion? I'll move to approve the 2022-23 district calendar as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the 2022-2023 district calendar as presented. Any discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Second street restoration. Okay, this is one I put in, I don't know, it really needs to be an action item. It's more of something I think everybody needs to be aware of. And I didn't want to I wanted to make sure that it wasn't me that made this decision by myself. But in all the meetings going through, meeting with the city council on the 2nd Street and the proposed changes that we're doing there, it was brought up early in the discussion by one of the council members, because obviously the city doesn't want to pay for what we're doing, and they're not. We're doing that with bond dollars. It was brought up that if someday down the road the district ever abandoned the idea and wanted it to go back to a street, the district would be liable to do that because the city doesn't want to take on that expense either. And at first I was troubled by that mostly because I know it's not going to be us still sitting here when that decision comes down the road. It's going to be another administrator, it's going to be another board. I wasn't sure that that was really fair to make that, knowing that it will be somebody else. But the more I've thought about it, it is understandable. We are making that change. We've asked them to allow us to do that. We're paying for it. If sometime down the road we decided, okay, that was a bad idea, it probably is our responsibility to have to pay for that to go back. I can't imagine that ever happening. If anything, I see us closing down that street completely and doing away or taking one step further. So, but in that discussion, in trying to finalize this with the city lawyer asked that this be acknowledged by the board in order for him to move forward and get the final documents in the resolution that we need for this to happen. So therefore I asked to put it on as an action item so that it is a board decision and was not a decision made by any one individual. So that is why it's there, and that is basically what we need in order for that resolution to be finalized and take place for the city to have final approval of it.
So what device is being used that's a platted city street, to convert that? How will that be now? Is it
Well, there's a
Police or-
resolution. I probably have.
as far as the land is considered,
It's still owned by the city.
it's a platted city street, so then we have like an easement?
Basically, they vacated is the term they're using. They're vacating that portion that we are taking to,
So then the district has ownership of it? Because if they're gonna vacate it, you would have,
It's like a,
yeah.
an easement perpetuity.
It is.
Yeah.
so.
So if they vacate, it's almost an ownership.
But the city still, they maintain, like all of the utilities, everything underneath that, obviously, that is still
Okay.
theirs. And that's why
They're just vacating the street, the surface, basically surface rights to the street.
trust me, it's been a long process.
I bet, because it isn't really. I hope
No, but
that-
it's,
the restoration part is kind of the easy part of how they make the rest of it work. As long as I guess they're happy. Who's the city attorney?
Peter Simon.
Okay. Yeah, all right.
yeah, it's difficult because it's almost kind of an agreement to agree in the future. Right. So when we do proceed with some sort of restoration, what kind of input is the city gonna request at that time? And, you know, there are a lot of those things that I mean, like say conceptually, if you say, yeah, you know, we'll,
I think you'd have to return to make it whole, you'd have to return to the original state.
to the extent you can,
Well, yeah, I mean, it'd have to be paved, I guess,
but,
up to the, whatever current
yeah.
standards there are.
But as far as the acknowledgement that, yeah, we,
If you build on
you know,
Well, they'd
we're
have
we're
to
kind of
move
putting
the
this
building.
future obligation on the district. I mean, I think that's reasonable, but, you know, reasonableness kind of goes both ways. So, and it's, you know, what if they don't like the plan that we have, or that the district has at that point in time? So, but yeah, it will be our grandchildren or whatever that will be, you know, left to kind of figure that out. What were those people thinking back then?
Honestly.
No, you know, Mr. Chairman, I guess I would move that we approve and acknowledge, you know, the district responsibility for Second Street restoration should the district no longer desire the use of the street for, you know, the elementary building project.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve and acknowledge the district's responsibility for Second Street restoration should the district no longer desire the vacation or the use of the street initiated with the elementary building project. Any discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passed.
One more second.
That'll be the last. I hope it's the last, but I've said that for a couple times now. I thought we were on the last. Anyway, approve extended time to use excess vacation.
Okay, so Christy has been looking into the way we use vacation time and things and has some ideas for solutions for the future. So we will work on that so that we don't have so much of an issue with this. And we are working with these employees to try to make sure they have time to use their leave or flexibility and coverage so that they can use their leave right now. But would just like to ask that these 3 staff members have the approval to extend the opportunity to use their leave that we need to get taken care of.
I move to approve the extension of excess leave for Mr. Riddle, Mrs. Moltenauer, and Mrs. Weaver.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the extension of excess leave for Mr. Riddle, Mrs. Moldenauer, and Mrs. Weaver. Is there any discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passed. Approve early retirement incentive for employee.
So we had application for the early retirement incentive from Mrs. Audette. And so I recommend that we honor her application and her time she's served here at the school district. And everyone's very sad to see her go, but she's got great aspirations and has definitely done a great service to your district. So Ms. Heverin, I don't know if you have anything else.
I do.
Add.
We just can't thank Callie enough. She is definitely a tremendous positive presence in our building, from just solving the day-to-day problems. She has positively impacted and helped literally thousands of students. If you think about how many students we have in our high school here and how many years she's been here, and through some really significant troubled times with, you know, loss of classmates and things like that. And those kids still reach out and have relationships with Miss Audette in that manner. She's a fantastic lady. I don't know how we're going to go on without her, but we'll figure it out. And I'm excited for her. I know she is planning on pursuing her art, and then she has one grandbaby and one on the way. So I know she's excited to have time with her family, and she's most certainly earned it. So we love her, we'll miss her, and but we're happy for her, so.
Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I guess I recommend that we award the early retirement incentive to Ms. Audette and accept her notice of resignation. Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the amount of $15,000 for an early retirement incentive to Cali Adet. Is there any further discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passed. Okay, now the resolutions.
Okay, so as you know, we have Mrs. Audette resigning and our paraprofessional, Mr. Brown, and Summer Foods Program Director, Laura Frazier.
Okay, move to approve the resignations of Kelly Audette, Joel Brown, and Laura Fraser.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the resignations of Cali Adet, Joel Brown, and Laura Frazier. Is there any discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passed. Employment, paraprofessional.
So Catherine Allen signed up to substitute with us, and while we were waiting for her fingerprints to come back, she was subbing as a para, and she really enjoyed it. And Christina said that she was phenomenal with the kids and is super excited to have her. So she was able, she agreed to coming on full-time as a para and taking that spot of Mr. Brown. So that will be very helpful for the district.
Motion.
I'll move to approve the hire of Catherine Allen for a paraprofessional.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the hire of Catherine Allen for paraprofessional.
And Mr. Chair, if I can add one more under employment.
Sure.
We have the need for a long-term sub in the elementary school. And so I just wanted to get that on the docket for tonight. Andrea Tullis, who was here earlier in the meeting, she has offered to fulfill that role, and we have a teacher that needs to be absent for a bit. So we just would like to get that approved. She is a certified sub.
How do you spell her last name?
Tullos, and I probably didn't pronounce it quite right. How do you pronounce it? Tullis. Okay. Yeah, and she's been subbing with us all year and doing a great job.
So basically, we're just moving her into a long-term sub.
Moving her into a long-term subbing position, especially with standardized testing coming up and things, we need to make sure we have a certified substitute in that position.
I move to approve Andrea Tullos as a long-term sub.
I'll second.
I'm trying to remember, did we do the Catherine Allen one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we did, we're not combining. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve long-term substitute Andrea Tullis. Any discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passed. Thank you. Sorry about that. All right, no other employment?
Nope.
Okay. Principals report. You want to start with her? We'll start at the top and
She
work
was-
our way down.
Me?
Mrs.
Really?
Evans.
I always go last.
Apparently, you're the top.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, apologies for my report not being in the past. They put that together last week when I was gone. So I'll talk about that here a little bit. As always, I just always like to recognize and congratulate the completion of seasons of our groups and organizations and our athletics groups and things like that. And so just want to congratulate wrestling and basketball on 3 fine seasons, counting boys and girls basketball. I know the coaches just pour their hearts into everything they do with these programs and so much time and really work hard with our kids, and sometimes they don't necessarily turn out as we hope, but that being said, they still do a great job nonetheless and get those kids positive experiences through those programs. So they did very well. It was very entertaining and a good ride to watch them all this year. So probably the main part, I just kind of wanted to touch base with you guys and give you update on my trip to Washington, DC. As I expressed before, this was a big first for me. I've never been to the East Coast. I've never been to DC. I've never been on this side of the advocacy side of working actually with legislators and the powers that be to help fuel some of these things. It's a huge learning curve and but an incredible experience, and I had a great time. It was very whirlwind and fast and furious. We got lucky and the weather in DC was absolutely amazing. It was so warm and nice. We didn't get rained on the whole time, so that was really great. Just the DC experience itself, being in that city, which I was amazed. What a wonderful city. I mean, I was just in awe of the place the whole time I was there. I was like, seriously, this is insane, you know? I did walk 10 miles the first Monday I was there before we started our conference Monday afternoon. So saw all those monuments and that was insane. That was a long walk. But anyways, it was a full walk. And so anybody hasn't been there and hasn't experienced that yet, highly suggest that you do. And I didn't even get to see a quarter of what I wanted to because there's a lot to see there. So looking forward to planning that out. I didn't even know where to start this year. So I will get to have this experience through the SAM organization again, due to my roles in that organization. So I'm excited about that. I've never really been into politics, and I'm still not super political person, but it was really engaging and it was just very educational to see how these things actually work when you're standing there, when you're talking to your legislators. And obviously there were representatives groups from all 50 states there. That was an incredible experience, both elementary and high school. They put us all together the one day to experience that together. I think meeting, we know how it is with politicians and we obviously get our viewpoints in the social and media and all of that kind of thing. But when you sit down at a table with a small group with your state legislators, and you're trying to impress on them, they want to know what we really need, in schools. How's it really going? Not just, this is great and this is going fine. And that part was really rewarding. I feel like all three sat down and really engaged in meaningful conversations with us, regardless of party or where their stands are in education bills. They were all very welcoming and very eager to hear what we had to say. So that was nice. Excuse me. Just to be able to share with them and tell our stories. All of our schools are different. I was with a group of 9 other administrators from all across the state of Montana, elementary and middle school and high school. And just for them to truly have us tell our stories and express what we really need. What they're saying that is, yeah, we don't really need that. This is what we really need. And so those were great conversations, and I was excited to be a part of those. Definitely 3 main areas where there are bills right now to be moved on or voted on. Sorry, you guys. One sec here. The 3 areas. Oh my gosh, you guys. We have to go somebody else. For a minute.
Go ahead, Brett.
I could just pick up her story. You won't believe what she told them in DC. No, we finally completed the last of our behavior code field trips. We had some issues with weather that it was actually too cold to ski and the hill was closed and we had rescheduled. Showdown does a great job. We just really appreciate them working with us and accommodating us every year. And Mr. Manzi did a lot of the work on that particular one to get the rescheduling done, and we made it successfully with, I think we had 1 injury of all the kids that went. So successful field trip. It was good. Our testing schedules are set. One of the things that kind of everything else is around in the spring is our state testing. We've got those scheduled. We've kind of experimenting with doing them a little different, spreading them out. We tried, over the years, we've tried a little bit of everything from doing multiple tests in a day. We've kind of come to the conclusion that we're able to keep kids focused when we spread it out over about 3 days. And for the 8th graders, that becomes 4 days when you add the science testing in. But it's much easier to schedule now since we've gone to one-to-one devices in the school. We used to have to really juggle computer labs and grade levels. That's been a drastic improvement. And with the infrastructure we have now, being able to accommodate all of those, it works really well. Science fair is, they're getting ready to think about heading to state, continuing on. It was a big success here at our local one. And we have an academic Olympics team too that is also getting set to go compete this month. And math counts, they did theirs a little different. We did qualify a couple kids to go to the state one. They went today. I haven't heard how those students fared. Mr. Bowman took them down today. So we have a lot of kids doing some kind of extra and co-curricular type things. It's been a busy time. Like all the schools in our district, we're starting to look toward next year in class sizes. We get those situations we've talked about where those bubble classes move through. I think we're kind of getting to a point now where the large bubble is eventually going to be the norm rather than the exception. And, working with Mrs. Hedlund and just talking about what the schedule could possibly look like, what those staffing needs might look like. We're in the early stages of that, but we'll definitely have a little larger sizes next year as we get a big 5th grade class entering. So we'll continue to work through that puzzle and juggle the staff we have and see where the budget comes out when it's all said and done and how we might be able to address some of our needs. So attendance in February was actually, I talked last month a little bit about the large number we had and it had been gone that month. It was down a little closer to normal this past month. And then we had an unusually large number absent today, which I hope is not the beginning of a trend. So, but definitely much better over the last about 5 or 6 weeks.
So just wanted to thank the K-5 team and everything they did for the reading program. And they put a lot of time, a lot of hours into choosing the program. They had, I believe we had 5 different programs they originally looked at. And they did a great job of even reaching out on their own, trying to get information on the programs that they were interested in. And it was really great to see everyone come to an agreement on the final choice. I think everyone was 100% agreed on what they went with. So it was really great. And then thank the curriculum committee for meeting with them. I know they really enjoyed that and would actually like to do more of that. So they really liked it. The COVID protocols, since with the change in our attendance, we're not seeing anything. We've just got a flu bug going through right now we're seeing more of, but nothing with COVID, so nice to see that. The after-school program grant, we did get approved, and so we'll move forward with that. Some of the stipulations that come along with that was they want you to have STEAM involved in it, which we already do. They want to have tutoring, which we already have that. Work on some maybe improving that so that we can help close some of these educational gaps that some of the students are having. The other thing, they did want to increase the numbers of students attending it, so we will work on what that looks like to get more students involved, as well as having social emotional learning involved. And I've already got the after-school coordinator working on that, including that in her daily activity, so that we get some exposure to it and start building that part of the program up. We also have our smart balance testing and Montana science assessments all scheduled and ready to roll forward. Our class numbers, I believe Mrs. Hedl has been keeping you up to date. We are over in kindergarten and 5th grade. We have one spot left in 4th grade, and then we're gonna start going over there. And our 3rd or 2nd grade is close. 1st and 3rd are our small classes. So we're just keep growing. In 2 weeks, I got 7 new students, K 5. So
There was an article in today's Independent Record about East Helena. They're averaging 8 students a month.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, to Brad's point.
Yeah.
What's been the outlier is now.
And the count was last month, right? They had to be count last
Yeah.
month.
Yeah. And they're coming from everywhere. I mean, we've got 3 Forks, Belgrade, Deer Lodge, California, Washington, for those last groups of people. So it's not, I mean, they're everywhere. So it's a variety of areas.
Mhm.
Quick question on the after-school grant program. Is this the one we had that had to figure in the underserved population and?
Not the 20th century. No.
Okay, 20th century.
Yeah, no, this is a different one.
This is the ESSER after-school grant. And so, yeah, the 21st century grant I'm not sure if it will come back around in another year. So we'll keep an eye out for that because we would apply for that one as well if we had the opportunity.
Grants. They're all, can't lose track of them, I guess, a little bit. Thanks.
Yep. And then the last thing I had was kindergarten registration. I met with the team today. We are going to open up registration starting March 21st through May 4th. Registration the actual roundup is on May 6th. So we'll have our registration for the roundup starting March 21st.
Definitely anxious to see our kindergarten numbers and where that comes in. We have a huge class this year, but we know that some of those were because of parents choosing to hold students back due to the COVID circumstances. So we're not sure if we're going to be expecting another large group or not. So anxious to see how the sign up and registration and everything goes for kindergarten.
We're at 63 in kindergarten right now.
Are you back?
Yes.
Trying to make you laugh.
So I get to talking so fast. Apologies for almost choking and dying. I don't have to apologize. Unless I talk. Oh, that was a bad one. I kind of wanted to let you guys know, there were 3 main focuses, educator shortages and the principal pipeline. Like, how can we be more proactive about not only, encouraging people to go into education, as their choice of career, how we can utilize, there's some really good ideas for homegrown uses, meaning how can we take what we have in our building and make, that be pursuable career for people that we already have in our buildings, utilize what we have. And then improving the the school mental health and safety requirements. We know that, just COVID, family circumstances, just things that have been brewing even pre-COVID before years, we're encountering more and more mental health issues with students in our schools and having to deal with a lot higher level situations than we have ever before. And being able to have those resources and being able to have the staffing. And I think one of the most interesting moments, I was sitting there listening to everybody and they're talking about, how hard the school nurses and all these things. And there was this giant conversation and I'm like, what's a school nurse? I mean, because I think, I meant it in tongue in cheek, but it was just like, there's still those of us out there that don't have these resources readily available to us every single day. We're sharing a school psychologist with another school and, still trying to do that in some of these rural areas. So that was really a good conversation too of how we can put more resources into our schools to help with those issues. And then just the school facilities and infrastructure, sure, and obviously with all of our construction stuff we've been doing, and we're talking about now, the old part of our high school that we're still, not much newer than our old elementary school and things now that we're looking at to have to cover and maintain and fix. In the current infrastructure bill, the school portion either was not included or was taken out. And so, principals and school administrators are advocating really hard for that to be put back in. And I think one of the biggest things that came out of it is that, school districts can't just keep piling the burden and the responsibility of all of these expenses on communities all the time. I mean, we're asking the communities to pick up a lot of it anyways, and that there's just gotta be something coming from other than just our local tax bases and our communities members that are footing the bill for everything. So really interesting. It was really good. It was fun time to be a part of. There's a lot of deep conversations and I learned a lot and there's a lot I need to learn yet. So I appreciate everybody on staff that helped cover me. It was, it's not easy to be on right now with all the shortages that we have and trying to cover everything else. So I really appreciate the entire school, covering so that I could go, and a lot of people picked up and helped out where they needed to. So that was great. And then just as you guys can see, we're rolling into spring. We always, that middle week of March kind of kicks off March Madness of our own kind, as we always say. So a lot of activities coming up to fill that in-between space between our regular seasons that are all coming up. A lot of great things happening, academic Olympics, spring sports practices start next Monday. End of the quarter, I couldn't even believe it when we were talking about something else is actually next Friday. So the end of quarter 3 is upon us. And I was shocked by that. Close-Up's headed out for their trip. They're very excited. She's got a real small group this year. I think five students. So that'll be really fun for them to have a real small group and be able to do a lot of different things. And then the juniors are taking the ACT on the 29th. We have a couple of our groups finishing up their state activities, state FCCLA, and FFA is headed to CDE days. That's an opportunity for kids that didn't get to compete at the state level to compete in some of their events up there in Miles City. And then Skills USA is hitting state, and it's actually in Helena, which is exciting because usually it's in Havre, and none of us ever really get to go or see it. So I'm actually very excited to at least make one trip over to Helena to watch the kids compete in some of their Skills USA competitions, and they've been doing really well. We had a lot of kids qualify, a lot of events, so busy as always. Right, winding down. No School Friday. Everybody's excited about that.
I had a question about the conference, and so the question was, and this is in light of the upcoming MTSBA strategic planning session, which will take place on the 17th and 18th at the Whitefish. So I'm sure the conversation will come up. So was there any discussion around alternative education and those systems that are competing with public ed?
As far as like
Charter schools, alternative schools.
Oh, yeah. There's
magnet schools, all those things.
Yeah, there's always obviously discussion on that, and a lot of it stems in, not that there shouldn't be those options available, but that, pulling funding from public schools that are already struggling to go to those things is obviously problematic. I mean, it's a difficult subject for sure.
So a discussion, but no real meat to the discussion.
Not really. I mean, there's not, just that's not obviously not favorable to, a lot of it centers around, the definite validity of public education and the positive things that come from that. Not that private schools are bad. I'm not saying that, but just that on our own public schools, we've, public schools do a lot of great things for kids too. And so there shouldn't be a competition between, those are choices. You send your kids to public school, you send your kids to a private school, those are choices. But, that wherein the discussion lies is how we fund that, trying to shuttle funds from public schools that are already struggling to try to keep up with everything, up to other entities. So That's mainly where the discussion lies, no real solutions, as of yet.
And thank you.
All right, so we're doing awesome on time,
It's
by the
going way
way.
faster than I expected.
I know. We had a lot of important topics tonight, so I'll try to keep us moving. But I have the Board of Public Education I serve on. We meet Thursday and Friday. So I will have a professional day on Thursday, and we have no school on Friday, but I will be there in my professional capacity. And I did share the agenda with you guys and the staff to see if anybody had any thoughts or anything I can bring. I always want to make sure that you guys know. And I think that it's really great that we have a voice on that board. So I try to bring the perspective of a Class B active superintendent to that board. So I enjoy that role. So if I can ever bring anything on your behalf or comments, please make sure and let me know. There's also a school administrators conference for superintendents in Helena, the 21st and 22nd. So I did register for that. So depending on what is going on at the school and how coverage looks and how things are going, I will attend those meetings or the sections that will be beneficial as I can. And just want to mention that I've kept you in the loop through email, I believe, but we're waiting to find out who's going to negotiate from the union for the classified negotiations. So we're just waiting to hear from them.
Quick question.
Yeah.
At some point, if they don't pick representation, do we move forward with the contract? I guess I'm a little wondering what we do there. No, Kevin.
Never ran into that one before, so I don't know. If they don't have anybody, they would still need to vote on it. No matter whether we stick with the old one or modify the new one. Yeah, there would have to be some type of response from them. Or maybe their union, their BA would come down. What's his name?
Yeah, they've talked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's considering that, him or Alan Severide negotiating on their behalf. I'm not sure how that'll shake out. So those are the comments I've heard.
Do we need to approve the negotiators?
I'm not sure how that works.
Is it
So
Brian Eli that's
I'm okay with that.
the.
Brian
MEA?
Elliott, is it? Or Eli? Yeah.
That's the ME, let's see, what is it?
MEA.
MFT, is that?
Yep.
Is that, okay, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And also he was down, Brian came down and did a Q&A with our local union president, Alan Severide, and Angie, the vice president. They did a Q&A session with the teachers on Monday night. So I did not participate, but from what I understand, they were talking quite a bit about what kind of things are in policy or the teacher's handbook or the negotiated agreement, what should be where and what the differences were some of the questions that the teachers had. And I did tell them to hold off on looking at policy in the handbook because we might have some changes coming. So I didn't hear a whole lot of other conversation that came out of that meeting, but they did do that on Monday night. So then the Broadwater County Development Council has asked me to come and speak next week about the community needs assessment and about the needs from our perspective, from the school perspective. So if anybody has anything for me to share at that, please let me know. I think, we've all talked quite a bit about the needs we see as definitely mental health being one of the major needs. We do not have a therapist, and neither does the hospital currently. We don't have a local, therapist, which is really challenging. We also have a real need for affordable housing for staff and families. Staff, we're going to have, it's really challenging with these openings we have coming open. That's going to be one of the big things is these people are going to be looking to find housing. And it's, there needs to be more options for affordable housing in our community. So these people can start their careers on an entry-level salary and have a place to live. So those are some of the things I'd like to talk about. And then it's kind of been a common theme that's come up at some of the community meetings is that people haven't realized that we have homeless, how many homeless foster care, English as a second language, those kinds of families in our community that we've identified, which was part of the work to, number one, make sure those students and those families are being served and getting what they need, but also allowed us to apply for funding to make sure that happens, and to bring programs into the school to support them. So those are some of the things that I'll touch on. If you think of anything else, let me know. Looking into next year, we've been talking a lot as an admin team about projections for staffing, numbers of students, and then also special ed. So just want to make sure that we're having those conversations and preparing for next year. We have a lot of students coming in. I've met a couple of families over the last couple of months that have moved in, that have 3 to 5 students, but aren't going to enroll them until next year, for example. So we know we're just going to keep growing. I know there's 13 new houses being listed, in the next few months, and with it in town. So really thinking about our growth and looking at our budget. Christy and I are diving into the budget starting tomorrow. And we've already started. We do it continually, but really trying to work on our analysis to see where we're at from our projections up to now this year, and then see how the grants that we've been able to bring in will offset some of those expenses and how we can best spend those funds and move forward with sustainability in mind also, noting that we want to make sure we continue providing opportunities for high quality professional development for staff and updating curriculum and all of these other things. So making sure that we're taking advantage of using the ESSER funds to accomplish some of this, but make sure that we build in sustainability for the future for that. And then also the staffing needs. It looks like we're going to need another middle school position and possibly first grade, because that's a big bubble we have. I'm not sure where we're going to be at kindergarten wise. So, and then also special ed is another area that we're looking at. We have some very high needs kindergartners coming in next year, and also reorging the special ed and kind of seeing if we can think about it in a different way, possibly to meet the needs of more students. So looking at adding a life skills program, possibly. So those students that their IEP goals are not based on academics, but on things like, coming in and making breakfast and brushing teeth and working on job skills and how to be out and about in the community and those kinds of things. So a program for those students that have different goals than academics. And we have teachers that have expertise in that area. And then we have special ed teachers that have expertise in the helping students reach their academic goals. So it would really make sense to kind of shuffle it up and try something new, use the expertise that we have and change those caseloads up, maybe instead of just doing it by grade level, special ed students by grade level. So those are some things that we're looking at, and we might need to do some more hiring. So definitely want to take a look at where we sit and where we're going to be and start really thinking through those positions that we might need to advertise for and make sure we can open those while there's still a good pool of applicants out there. So one of the things, of course, to start with, I printed off for you guys is just the dates of the ESSER funds. And it's kind of confusing because they don't actually call them ESSER 1, 2, and 3. It's ESSER fund is actually ESSER 1. ESSER consolidated is ESSER 2. And then ESSER 3 was the first one that they actually called ESSER 3. So this just lists them out and then the deadlines for expenditure. And then in this packet, I included the budgets and the what we allocated for each program and everything within here. So we will, Christy and I will be looking at ESSER, all of the different grants and funding streams that have come in and all of the expenditures that have gone out. So we can see where we're sitting and start planning for that end of year fund. So we can have more information for you guys ready for negotiations. We also need to schedule a special board meeting, as we'll talk about in a second, because we need to advertise if we're going to increase levies and post our projected levies and mills in the newspaper by the end of the month. So we are working on getting more budget information together so you guys can make those decisions and we can start preparing for next school year. And I think that's it. I've just had a really great time working with everyone and appreciate everyone's help. It's been fun getting to know different kids, whether it's through positive or sometimes negative situations, but it's been fun building the relationships with the kids and getting to know the administrators and the staff better as we would navigate each situation at the school. And it's just been really great to work with Christy once again on the budget. And we're doing the MTSBA refresher sessions to get back in budget mode. So can't believe it's already here. Feels like it was just the other day when I was giving you guys the budget presentation. So getting ready to roll for that again. So yeah, it's been exciting. And I've been working on shopping for insurance. That's something we have coming up too. So looking into some of those different components to prepare for our spring work. That's it.
Yep, I almost skipped over that because it was on one page and not on the other.
I apologize.
So we need to set a special board meeting so we can approve that resolution for those levies. They weren't quite ready to put those numbers tonight. So she's listed either the 24th or the 29th. If anybody has a preference.
Probably 29th for myself. I'm not sure I'll be back. I've got an appointment in Great Falls Tuesday afternoon.
29th would be preferable for me.
Okay, let's set the special board meeting for March 29th at 6 p.m. And we'll have the levy budget increase and probably a couple of these other things, scoreboards and things like that, that we can take care of at the same time.
Yeah, and I did find out, so the laws that we have to post that in the paper by March 31st. And our Broadwater reporter is only running once a month now, and it won't go out until the 1st. So that will be published in our community on April 1st, but we'll put it in the Helena Independent Record on the 30th, if you guys approve it, on the 29th. So we'll meet that requirement of the law.
Okay. Yeah, the only other thing I'd add is with no negotiations, I guess hopefully as soon as we have those budget numbers, I guess I'd like to probably start working through administration too. I know we talked about trying to get that done earlier than we have. I don't know if it's still considered early, but actually it's earlier than we did it last year. So as soon as we can, we'll start working on getting that done too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Priscilla, did you get any feedback from the news interview spot that had been done for the parents?
I haven't heard anything from anyone but my father said that.
Yeah, I mean,
So that was it. Yeah.
I saw it, it was really good.
Yeah.
I never saw it. You didn't get to see it? No.
Yeah.
What?
Pretty surprised.
Yeah. How did you guys feel about it? Did you feel like it had the right tone, the way that I'm not? Yeah.
Yeah, no, certainly did. And, stressing, that we're trying to adjust the compensation level and all that kind of thing. And efforts that we've taken. And it's, kind of more of a dynamic situation we're trying to keep ahead of us and all of that, so.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of fun to give Cindy, our long-term pair, the opportunity to talk about how much she's done for the school and her dedication to working with students. And then also to see Mr. Neighbor, who's, new, and like, what a cool thing to have a military veteran that's now spending his time. It was just awesome to see him reading a book. I saw him reading a storybook to one of our high school students that, needs extra support and help, and just been really neat to see how the different personalities work with the kids and everything. So I thought it was great. And then appreciate Christina taking on that role. I was happy that she stepped up to do that interview. So
I tried to cut it off.
yeah.
I learned about it from my folks. I never knew.
It kind of just happened really quickly.
They called that morning, and I apologize. I probably should have sent something out to the entire board. I did text or call Jason's cell phone for approval, but they were like, they were like in the car, like wanting to. Yeah. They must have been needing to fill, a gap. But the reporter was newer, and he has he's interested in doing some more education reporting and wanted to talk about the new school building and next year and things like that. So it sounds like he'll be back out, and hopefully we'll have, a little more notice, and I can let you guys know ahead of time next time.
I didn't know till I saw the camera going through. I was like, what's going on?
Mr. Chairman, if I could, there's one thing kind of, I guess just as a public announcement. The Townsend Education Foundation is having a trivia night fundraiser on St. Patrick's Day. And that is, the last couple times it's been done, it's been a real good event. It's a good, social mixer type thing. But, it also raises good money for the foundation. It's just an enjoyable time. And this year just so happens to be on St. Patrick's Day. But I don't know, I'd have to check and see if they're still, accepting teams for the trivia competition and things like that. But
They are.
are they still?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a great time the last couple of years.
And those funds come back into the school with grants for the teachers on things that they.
Second place is wide open, so you guys should come.
Yeah. Yeah.
And dodgeball's on
This year.
the 18th.
Still at the fairgrounds.
It's at the fairgrounds. It's
So,
probably.
and multi-purpose.
And dodgeball's on the 18th.
Yeah.
You can still sign up teams for that
I think
too.
we should have a school board dodgeball team.
There you go.
Yeah.
Just say it shouldn't be hard. Thank you, I just wanted to get that plug out there, because that's a worthwhile effort, and it's a good time.
Very good. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.